There comes a time in every challenge runner, achievement hunter, or general pain and suffering enjoyer's life where they Google hard games or achievements and eventually come across Wolfenstein 2 and the Mein Leben achievement. Back when I first started wanting to make these videos, Mein Leben popped up on practically every list, and for good reason. It's pretty hard. For the uninitiated, Mein Leben is the name of Wolfenstein 2's hardest difficulty and the achievement that goes along with it. You have to get through the entirety of Wolfenstein 2's campaign at its absolute hardest without dying. There's no saving or anything either, so you either do it in a single sitting, or leave your game on and pray that Wolfenstein 2 doesn't crash, which is a real and terrifying possibility. Also, isn't it kind of funny that Mein Leben means my life? It's almost like the game was trying to warn me what I was about to ruin for a few months. Ha 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 ha. No, seriously, I had to take a few months off of this because I was making zero progress and ran out of room on my SSD for any other footage. So I had to nuke like 15 different attempts to be able to make other videos. And if that isn't life ruining, well, I don't know what is. But yeah, not a lot else to elaborate on before we start. I mean, ultimately, it's permadeath. I guess I could say that this feels like one of those rite of passage runs that everybody hits up eventually. Kind of like Dead Space 2's hardcore mode. Okay, so story-wise, we are BJ Blazkowicz, and if you don't know who he is, or actually anything about Wolfenstein, I find that genuinely shocking. The TLDR is that this game is about killing Nazis, and that BJ is the best at it. The last game ends with BJ getting exploded in a couple different ways, and that's where this one picks up. Now we already get to talk about the absolute worst part of this run. I swear I'm not exaggerating, Wolfenstein 2 starts with the most painful set of non-skippable cutscenes I have ever dealt with in a game. This is easily worse than Outlast 2 and Dead Space 3. It's actually like 10 minutes long and you have to watch it every single time. I'm fairly certain it's because there's two different spots we have to interact with it, which is like cool on your first playthrough. But holy shit, I swear every second I spent playing this game, a deep existential dread crept in, reminding me what was in store for me if I choked the run and died, which happened a lot. Like here, even in the first level, I just straight up forgot about the last enemy that spawns in.
Up we go.
Wow. I mean, to be fair, this was my first attempt after my break, but still. For reference, the first level takes less than 10 minutes to beat normally. I think on average it took me maybe 6 minutes just from skimming over a bunch of attempts. So dying this early means you're watching more cutscene than playing game. All I'm asking for is that maybe the devs could put a skip cutscene button at the start of some of these permadeath runs. Or I guess I could just not die. Okay, sorry, I'm getting way ahead of myself here. All we need to do is take a look at exactly one thing in these cutscenes. So back in Wolfenstein 1, you need to choose between two of your pals, Wyatt and Fergus, who lives and who dies. It's some jigsaw shit. In the name of personal continuity, you gotta make the same choice at the start of 2. I say Fergus, although I'm sure Wyatt is a perfectly nice guy. Okay, that's it. Level 1 time. There's definitely nothing else to talk about in the intro that would permanently scar anyone at all whatsoever. Please believe me.
I'm going to hell.
You might have noticed when I showed my first death that we're in a wheelchair. That is only the case for the first level, and thank God for that because it's pretty clunky. And yeah, it's probably intended to be that way. So I pretty much just hugged cover and let traps do the work for me.
Got that backwards, lady. I'm hunting you.
A good way to tell if all the enemies are dead is by waiting for BJ to monologue about how life sucks. That usually means the area is clear.
Caroline, wherever you are, you do what you have to do to keep everyone alive till I get there.
This bit right here is easily the problem area of the level. Not that it's ultimately that bad in the big scheme of the run, but it lets me point out how incredibly gray and washed out everything is in Wolf 2. It's not just here. The readability is ass in like half of the game, which can be a little bit of a problem in a permadeath run where if an enemy has eyes on you for more than 1 second, they can spray you down with sniper-like precision and a Call of Duty hardcore playlist time to kill. Also, the SMG sucks. I'm not upset, I swear. We've got another 5 minutes of unskippable cutscenes at the start of the next level, but you could argue that's a small price to pay for getting the use of our legs back. Along with our legs, we have a max of 50 health and 200 armor for the first half of the game. That's not including overhealing, which maxes out at 200 health before it decays over time. Just in case you wanted to know any of that. 3 of the weapons that hard carry my fat ass throughout the run are introduced in this level. The first 2 are the pistol and the hatchet. They're both great for stealth, which is pretty much just waddling around and hoping we don't get seen most of the time. Officers are almost always our priority targets, usually quietly so that they don't call in reinforcements. If they do call in reinforcements, we camp a corner and mow everyone down until they stop. Like right here, when we get the 3rd hard carry, and my absolute favorite weapon that I use for just about everything that doesn't require being sneaky. This is the assault rifle, and it's lovely. From about here onwards, when upfront violence was going on, I always tried to dual wield weapons solely for the extra ammo capacity perks you get for kills with dual weapons out. I don't know where else to talk about this, but these big dudes with the explosive tanks on their back, they drop laser guns that sound like what I choose to believe is Optimus Prime blasting rope. That's about it for this level. The next level gives us our own laser gun, but it doesn't sound nearly as good as the Autobot one. Regardless, this thing is extremely useful later, so we'll talk about it more then. For now, it opens vents in crates. Beyond that, this level is really quick and about 95% stealth. The last 5% is an alarm getting set off because you have to explode a radio room. And it's more safe just to wait back until reinforcements are cooked, but sometimes I was impatient and bum rushed. Every now and then we get the chance to explore BJ's base of operations. And on this first visit, we can grab a couple of upgrade kits that are definitely worthwhile.
Nice. Should get to work on upgrading my weapons.
We're not supposed to be able to grab that second one until much later in the game, but we can, so we will. There's a third one here too, but we can't actually get that one until our next visit. The way upgrades work is that after you find one of those upgrade kits, you can choose whichever weapon you want to apply it to. The first 2 upgrades I take here are the suppressor for the pistol and the armor-piercing rounds for the assault rifle. So this is where things get volatile. The start of the Manhattan level, I always, without fail, no matter what settings I change or whatever, get this warning and then the game always feels like it's on the cusp of crashing. Which, luckily, it only ever did in practice, but obviously during these runs, I never knew if it was just gonna shit itself. Anyways, stealth time.
Nice.
And then running time. And then subway dog time. Wolfenstein dogs have put the fear of God into me. If you're sad about having to hurt dogs in a game, just remember that where we are is dripping with radiation, and we're probably doing these dogs a favor in the long run. This level is pretty much over, and now it's time for Manhattan Part 2. The first bit of this level is pretty 50-50 for me. I try to stealth it as long as I can, but I almost always goof it and get seen, which isn't the worst thing if I can get the officer. But if I don't, I just huddle up in a corner and deal with the reinforcements. By this point, I found enough upgrades to fully deck out the assault rifle, which is now incredibly strong. It's got the previously mentioned armor-piercing ammo, and now jungle mags, and scopes that turn it semi-automatic when active, but also ups the damage per shot. Altogether, it makes it really easy to deal with this big robot bastard that shows up here. Not that he's ever really gotten me here. Maybe this is the one time a dark alley New York's been considered safe, but I've never been there to make that kind of judgment, so... The rest of Manhattan Part 2 is running through the crumbled bits of the Empire State Building until we get to an elevator to take us to the top. There's exactly 1 dog mixed in with the soldiers here that I sometimes forget about but should absolutely be taken out before running in there and getting blindsided. Part 3 of Manhattan is maybe one of the easiest levels in the game. Story-wise, we're picking up some Americans to help us out, and then we're immediately attacked by the Nazis. Unfortunately for them, they can't conquer this corner. Sometimes I take a couple hits here, other times I get through here flawlessly. It's essentially a shooting gallery. Now, I've been told you can whiff your jump here and die, not that I've ever tried it, but feel free to if you ever do this yourself. Now we're back in the base of operations before our next mission and can grab the last upgrade kit here. Just don't run into the insta-kill electric microwave wall thing here. I'm not entirely sure why they have one of these active in their shooting range, but whatever. This is also the last time I'll mention grabbing any of these. You can just find them in every mission if you spend more than a couple seconds looking around. Next, we have a very short romp through one of the sections of our submarine base, where there's a lot of those armored super soldier dudes, but they can't really throw hands with the juiced rifles. It takes like 5 minutes to do this bit, and I maybe struggled a grand total of one time where I was reading emails on my phone while playing. Anyways, we went in here for a nuke, and now that nuke is coming along with us to Area 52. Part 1 of Area 52 is super quick. We stealth down the first half of guys here to take out the commander and turn on the train. Now this part sometimes doesn't go so well for me, but it is possible to stealth our way to the train right after. If I do get spotted, I usually just hole up in the room where the commander was and blast away. Either way, we plop down into the train and get going. Part 2 of Area 52 is an entire train level. You know, like all games should have. I seriously can't think of a bad train level in anything I've played. Now I'm going to take this opportunity to say that Resident Evil Zero's best part is the train. We need more survival horror trains, please. Anyways, we get the shotgun here, and it's pretty solid. The rifle is still my first choice, though. We can stealth the entire train pretty easily, and holy shit, I choked one of the easiest levels in the game. No! I'm stuck in an animation! Are you fucking kidding me? Are you fucking kidding me? I'm pissed. So if you have fat gorilla-like hands and accidentally press the melee button too close to a soldier, you enter a glory kill without the glory, because you are 100% killable during it. For reference, Area 52 was like just shy of halfway through the game. Back on the wheelchair and on to 10 minutes of unskippable bullshit we go. Or it can be closer to like 20 minutes if we die on the first level. Haha. What? What? I shot him in the fucking head! When we finally get back to the train, as I was saying before the incident, it's actually super easy and stealth is all you need. Also, make sure to pull this lever backwards and not push it forwards. For reasons. Part 3 of Area 52 has a couple dicey spots, like this slow-ass elevator. It's not so bad on the ascent, where we just pick off guys as they hop on one by one. The dicey part is finding the right moment to make a mad dash for it after it stops. If we run into the next area, you can literally feel the moment everyone behind us despawns. Mostly because it micro freezes, and I always just think the game's about to crash. After that, it's time for a little more stealth. Dicey part number 2 is after we arm the nuke. We've got another big old robot, but this one is decidedly easier to deal with. With the laser gun's charge upgrade, we can one-tap the robot with an eye shot. Even if we don't directly hit him in the socket, one more normal shot to the dome usually does the trick. The part that sketches me out here is when all the soldiers file in. Sometimes they firing squad me immediately, and other times they come in one by one and make things easy. Luckily, this is one of the easy times. That's pretty much the end of the level. Up next is a quick trip to BJ's family home. Like, it's actually quick. This whole thing from start to finish takes maybe 3 minutes. We kill BJ's dad, we break some mechanical tentacles lifting the house into the sky, then we plummet back to Earth after they're all gone. Now we've got 6.5 minutes of more unskippable cutscenes. Essentially, we're caught by the Nazis and put on trial. There's a moment in here that rivals some of the shit that made me gag in Outlast 1 and 2's cutscenes. Specifically, the sound of the gun hitting BJ's teeth when pulled out of his mouth.
You're so boy.
I don't like it. This all leads up to my absolute least liked level in the entire game, the courthouse. I legitimately sucked at this level and had a whole bunch of runs die here because I'm an idiot, I guess. I crack under pressure. I don't know. It was just my kryptonite. I mean, look at this. I died before it barely even started. Pick up the health. Pick up the health! This is going horribly. So I didn't press that. I'm stuck. I'm dead. We're dead already. I had more equally dumb deaths here that are lost to time because I just couldn't save all the attempts I had of this level while working on multiple different games over the last however many months. I'm sorry. The fucked up thing here is that this is all a dream sequence anyways, so we're dealing with some Nightmare on Elm Street rules. The strategy I ended up using with this place is just to grab an assault rifle and then head up to the judge's bench and pray. After getting up there, I pretty much just rotated from bench to bench to bench to bench to bench to bench, trying to pop as many heads as I could anytime I peeked out. While we're here, I'm gonna take just a second to complain about the grenade indicator. It sucks. Thanks for listening. Oh, actually, speaking of listening, this game doesn't have a separate sound slider for sound effects. You have master volume, music volume, and voice volume. So if you want to hear grenades bounce around a bit better, or even try and listen for footsteps, you have to crank the master volume and go deaf. It's great. It's not great. Life is pain. Okay, this part gets infinitely easier once the gates open on the sides. There's a lot less angles to get shot from, along with a way better area to funnel Nazis into death, and just a bunch of supplies. It's basically free at this point. And I never died at the courthouse again. Now we're halfway through the game. But like I said, this is a dream sequence, and we actually get decapitated in the next cutscene, which I can't show a lot of, because YouTube. Or wherever you're watching this. LiveLeak would never treat me this way. The TLDR here is that our head is actually saved and put in a jar. Then before we're reattached to a new body we had hanging around, we get to choose a new toy to play with. I always choose the restrictor harness, partially because it gives us a couple seconds of slow motion if we're spotted, but mostly because it gives us colonoscopy vision. Also, for the rest of the game, we're at 100 health and 100 armor instead of the 50 and 200 we previously had. With all of our shit sewn back together, we're headed to Manhattan again. For me, this is probably the easiest level in the latter half of Wolf 2. We have to go into a bunker to get a dossier, and the first bit is pretty much run and gun until we're inside, and then it's mostly stealth. So there's this one part where you have to pull 2 switches to open a door and then get by a couple of those big armor dudes. And I guess I just have a talent for dying whenever I think a part is free. What? Here's my obligatory early game death right after, forcing me to watch the intro cutscenes over and over and over. What? I'm gonna scream. I'm gonna scream. In a perfect world where I don't die like a jackass, killing those 2 dudes is usually closer to something like this. A bit further in, there's this one part where we turn a corner and an officer opens up a little window and shoots a grenade pistol rocket thingy through that can absolutely one-shot us. So, we don't let that happen. Oh my god, we got him. The rest of this is pretty straightforward. We grab what we need.
New Orleans dossier Grace wanted.
A bunch of guys come in.
The barn, they're letting the radiation in.
Then we bail out. While we wait for our extraction chopper, a bunch of robots attack us on this elevator. But they can't really do shit if we just sit under one of these things. Then they're pretty easy pickings. New Orleans is up next, and I don't know. It might be the worst level in the game for me. It's not like I ever died here or anything, spoilers, but I really just don't like it. Maybe it has something to do with the general smoke and dust throughout it, making it potentially the worst level for enemy readability, in my opinion. Okay, so first we have some stealth.
Upgrading my weapons.
Then we have some shoot. Then we have some more stealth. Then some more shoot. And then to mix things up, we have some run. Woo! That always freaks me out. Let's go. I think this next part is supposed to be some big power fantasy thing where we're riding one of these big dog robot fellas that breathes fire and shit, but it's absolute dog water. At least in Mein Leben. Maybe this is more fun on some other difficulty. Our only attack with this guy is the flamethrower, and to this day, I have no idea how far this thing actually shoots. We can heal with armor pickups, and other than that, it's pretty much just hoping you cook everyone, because if you don't, they'll hide around corners and behind shit we can't see, then beam us down really quickly. I think the most dangerous part of this is when you reach the warehouse entrance. There's a constant stream of guys just running it down mid, and a lot of different angles to get filled up from. After the brunt of the guys are done kamikazeing, I like to jump off the dog and try and clean things up. Before we're finally out of here, there's a sewer bit. Honestly, in all my practice, I normally just book it through here on foot and have no problem, but in the actual runs, I played it safe and killed everyone. The final part of New Orleans can be a little spicy. Specifically this house here that actually has an excuse to be smoky and gray because it's literally on fire. There's a lot of gnarly corners and bad angles in there, so I find the best way to deal with it is by not going in until I absolutely have to. A couple shots outside will pull a handful of the guys in there out. After a couple times of pulling aggro like that, I tend to clear the house with shotguns. It's also important to note that there's a dog or two in there that are, like everything else, incredibly hard to see. And that's the end of New Orleans. Now it's time for Hitler in space. There's a bit here where you can die if you don't nail your audition to be in Hitler's movie. It's a whole thing. I can't really put my finger on why, but the Venus level makes me incredibly nervous to play. It might have something to do with the fact it's the second last level of the game, but who knows. What I do know is that this first bit isn't too bad. There's a few guys to stealth, and then I bottleneck everyone else at this door until all the reinforcements are gone. Starting with the second part of the level, we're going in and out of being on the surface of Venus. There's a mechanic here where our suit can run out of coolant, and we essentially burn to death. But there's coolant stations pretty much all over the place outside, and some areas where it's easy enough just to run back inside until you're ready to push forward. So it's really not that bad to deal with unless you just straight up walk away from the game unpaused. Most of this is really easy to stealth through, the exception being two areas. First one's right here. Too many drones and too many big guys that if I lost stealth, I'd almost certainly get deleted. So I play the hit and run. The second part is this hallway littered with robots. I just find it easier to hold down the left click. Oh god. Plus, we have to go on a conveyor belt ride that, in theory, should be easy, but it's actually possible to aggro the very last guy into a spot where you can't hit him because you lose your full range of motion when you're on this thing. It only ever happened in practice, but this part still sketches me out from random bullshit like that. Anyways, I just didn't shoot the explosive barrels because that's usually what led to my death in those runs. I was probably just unlucky or something. If he's on a certain angle on the left, we're fucked. No, we're good. Okay, the only place left to talk about here is the Oberkommando, which is the final room of the entire mission. There's exactly one officer in here at the back of the room and a bunch of dudes just sort of spread throughout, including a patrolling fat boy and a robot doggy near the officer. Normally, I stealth down some stragglers, nuke the officer, then mop up the remnants. But the thing with robot dogs is that they tend to explode when they die. And if you're close to them when they explode, it knocks you on your ass. And if you're knocked on your ass when enemies are around, well, I think you know where this is going. No way! The dog knocked me down? That's insane. That's so fucking crazy, dude. That's great. That's so cool. That's rad. That's so sweet. I'm not gonna lie, that death borderline made me consider taking a break from the game again. My early death on the next attempt didn't really help much either, to be honest. Just ignore the photo on the right. I was having a moment that day. What? What? Dude, what? After an unspecified amount of hours of suffering, I did in fact make it to the Oberkommando with a slightly adjusted strategy. Please don't be able to hit me through the vent. Oh, thank God. Finally, the last level of Wolfenstein 2. Imagine if after all the work it took to get here, I just fucking died from a stray bullet hitting a fire extinguisher in the second combat encounter of the level. The recording of that run actually just cuts off right there because I alt F4'd out of reflex. It took me a very blunder-filled run to get back to the last level. One of those runs that's as bad as it could be without dying. Like, I wish I had died at a couple points throughout it, but I just ended up living and had to keep playing as punishment. Wouldn't it be great if you could see that entire run on, say, a VOD channel? I'll put a link in the description. The entire last level takes place in and on the Ausmerzer. I'm probably saying that wrong, but it's where the second level of the game went down. Like, right after we lost the wheelchair. So the first half of this level is going through a lot of the places we've been, but with juicier enemies. Bottlenecking is the trick to most of this part. Things get spicier when we're up on the deck of this thing. In the initial area up here, we've got two big guys patrolling that I tend to just pick off before I drop down. Bro, please. With those two out of the way, it's usually safe enough to run for it with the shotguns out. Once the alarm goes off, one of those big robot dudes spawn and has a real chance of shooting a stray in here that would nuke us. But if he doesn't, the old supercharged laser to the eye trick does wonders. At this point, it's pretty safe to backtrack and pick up any supplies before the next bit, which I'm just not a fan of in the slightest. This metal tank thingy that we run past on our left has no collision, and enemies can see through it. It's the worst. These crates are safety, and we hug them until people stop running into our bullets. Also, huge shout out to fellow YouTuber streamer pals Morgan's Basement and you Tobias for calming me down and helping me not die. I was feeling the pressure really badly at this point, and I legitimately could not have done it without them. Snam, on the other hand. Straight up, the final combat encounter in the game makes me want to shit my pants. I didn't really expect to make it here in this run. I was convinced I was going to take a death leading up to this, but I didn't, so here we are. The first part is straightforward enough. A total of 6 of the armored guys will spawn out of these silos 2 at a time, and we blast them in their tanks immediately. Random goons will also spawn during this part, and it's important that we don't die to them. The silo lids are good cover. Ain't no way, I'm dead. Once those 6 guys are dead, we have to face 2 destroyers. We've not seen these guys at all until now, and these are the final bosses of the game. Also, they're the only enemies I had to Google the names of because I'm out of descriptors at this point, since they also are armored, robot-y looking guys. The Wolfenstein Nazis definitely stuck to a design philosophy. You're not actually going to see what these guys look like for a bit here because being up top would be a death sentence. There's damn near non-stop goon spawning for a good 5 minutes here, so we just gotta patrol this little H-shaped hallway until that stops. Now that that's over, if we were to go head-to-head with the destroyers, we'd be destroyed. Ha ha. They have 1 to 2 shot potential on us, so instead, we play Whack-A-Mole Backshot Edition. We're good, we're good, we wait. Sounds like they're moving around an awful lot up there. Oh my. Okay, we got one. You know, my favorite part of challenge runs, speed runs, whatever runs, is that you never necessarily know when it's the run. And when it finally dawns on you that it is in fact the run, nothing hits quite as good. I mean, maybe if I ever left my apartment, I could find something similar, but this will do for now. Did we? Oh my God, wait, no, ain't no way.
This is your day.
Ain't no way. I'm gonna be fucking sick. The very last thing we have to do is hatchet down Irene Engel, where you can actually die if you don't press the kill button. But I also can't show this because I'm told it's a bit too graphic for YouTube. So I'm gonna have to blur it. Or if it's not blurred here, they made me get rid of it entirely. Sorry. I got it! It popped! It popped for me! It's not showing for you guys because my overlay's broken, but I did it! It's done! Also, very fucking tragically, Wolfenstein Steam and OBS were not getting along at all for capturing the achievement pop. But here it is. I did it. Oh my God. I feel sick. I feel so good. I feel so relieved. That's Wolfenstein 2, the new Colossus's Mein Leben achievement. Easily the most brutal achievement I think I've ever done. But I also feel like I say that anytime I do anything now. Regardless, there's a rite of passage run down the drain. I don't think I ever want to play Wolfenstein again, even though I really enjoyed it before I started doing this run. After I finished this whole thing, I double-checked the last time I had played Wolfenstein before the hard drive purge, and I had taken roughly a 9-month break in between finally getting this done. I probably just should have practiced more. The full final run will be up on the VOD channel for those who want to see it, and if you ever want to catch these runs live, I stream over at twitch.tv/anxiety. As always, thanks for watching. What? What fucking hit me?